let's be honest, there's been some pretty bad visual effects over the years. From The Rock in The Mummy Returns, to Marvel's Nightmare Fuel, to whatever this is. There are plenty of examples of questionable VFX, but there's one clip that when I saw, I just knew I had to fix, and that is the ending of Air Force One. I'm not even sure if this would pass as a PlayStation 1 cutscene, and the movie isn't even that old. It came out in the late 90s alongside movies like Jurassic Park and Titanic. So let's see if 28 years of technology improvement and a week of work will enable us to give this movie a well-deserved touch-up. Now, why doesn't this shot quite hold up? For one, it's a really ambitious shot. Water simulations are extremely computationally expensive and hard to make look good, especially in 1997. Second, the plane animation is wacky and doesn't really feel motivated by physics. And lastly, the rendering looks flat and plasticky. Let's fix all of that, and we have two ways of approaching this. Either by adding effects to the current shot, like the Corridor crew did when they fixed this VFX shot from The Mummy Returns. We could add better water splashes, smoke to the engines, maybe some camera shake to hide the bad VFX, but we're kinda stuck with a plasticky look and animation of the plane if we do this approach. The only way to fix this is completely redoing the shot, and this approach has a lot of advantages. We get complete control over the animation and water, as well as take advantage of all of the improvements made to rendering and simulation techniques over the past 3 decades. The only downside is that it's gonna take us a whole lot longer than adding some camera shake, and as you'll see later, my computer will barely survive the simulation. The first step to animating anything is to gather reference. This is essential for getting natural motion, and often animators will record their own reference for character animation. So now you know that behind the most emotional scenes of a movie is an animator in their bedroom filming an awkward video. I tried recording some reference for the plane animation, but it didn't quite work out, so instead I headed to YouTube. There isn't a lot of reference, but something that I'm gonna keep in mind is how fast the plane stops when the nose goes underwater. I also like using AI images as a reference point, as I can generate as many as I want until I find something that looks like what I'm going for. This will be especially useful for compositing. Now, let's find a 3D model to use for the plane. So I'm just gonna search for Air Force One and... whoops. There we go. Since I'm horrible at animating, I'm not even gonna try. But instead, we're gonna simulate the animation and let the computer handle the physics.
How is that even possible?
This will give us more accurate results and allow for some natural flexing and destruction. The only downside is that it's very hard to get a simulation to do exactly what you want, so this is gonna take a lot of iterations. The landing felt too hard when I just used the solid ground as my collider, so I thought back to my childhood and tried using a bunch of spheres acting as a ball pit for the plane to collide against. This worked surprisingly well, and if we just remove the balls after the simulation, we have a pretty convincing animation. For the nosedive, I added some upwards velocity to the tail of the plane, while at the same time slowing down the nose to get it to flip. I also made it break apart as it flipped. And here is the final animation. And as you can probably see, we're gonna need to do a bit of cover up with the water splashes, so let's do that next. When Air Force One came out, fluid simulation for VFX hadn't even been invented yet. That actually happened a year later in 1998 for the movie Ants. And if you're interested in learning more about that, I happen to have an entire video on the subject. But how did they even do this shot then, without water simulation? Well, my guess is they just used a bunch of particles, which gives the whole thing a very misty look and also explains why the water surface stays at the same level throughout the whole shot. We're gonna fix this by doing a proper simulation in Houdini, the best software for this type of work. I start by creating a particle water surface and set up a simulation and tweak the surface tension, droplet threshold, vorticity attribute, reseeding quality, substeps, and finally wait an hour for the simulation to finish. And... I think I forgot to add the plane as a collider. There we go. Now, let's scale up our domain, spend a few hours fine-tuning the settings, and then wait 30 hours for the final high-quality water simulation until we finally end up with this. I was super happy with these results, but then... the simulation apparently crashed with 2 seconds to go, but I'm not waiting 30 more hours to fix that, so...
this will have to do.
The next step is turning these particles into a mesh that we can render. The process isn't too complicated, but it takes a long time to compute, so after 30 more hours I can finally render my first image. Let's add an ocean surface where I'll try matching the waves from the movie, which already gets us pretty close. Lastly, I'll spend another day fine-tuning a spray and foam simulation, which is as important as the water itself, because at this scale, the majority of the water is turned into this fine mist. And with this, the shot is ready to be rendered. It was at this point I started regretting doing a water simulation video with a quickly aging computer, because a single frame is taking around 50 minutes to render. And with a total of 247 frames, that means this single shot is going to take 205 hours to render. That's over a week. You poor thing. While waiting for my computer to finish my longest render yet, I decided to generate some more reference using Artlist, who recently released their AI image and video generator. I've seen a lot of AI videos lately, but not too many practical use cases. But I've found so many playing around with this tool, like using it to generate background elements like clouds, trees, fog, and fire to enhance a shot. It's also perfect for generating skies to put behind your CG renders. You start by choosing a style, from which there are plenty, like this one for storyboarding. Then describe your image, and boom, you've generated a professional looking storyboard to use yourself or send to a client. I really wish I had this before. Their image to video model lets you easily turn your generated images into videos per your instructions. You can even upload your own images for animation to add effects to them directly. It's kind of awesome having a subscription that just keeps adding more and more assets. And if you'd like to try it out for yourself, you can get 2 months for free using my link below. It's honestly also just really fun to play around with an AI image generator, especially with all of the different styles that they offer. Finally, adding sound effects really helps bring the videos to life, which on Artlist is just a click away. Thank you so much to Artlist for continuously supporting my channel. And again, if you want 2 months for free, you support me by using my link. VFX is expensive, and I mean really expensive. The Force Awakens had a budget of $533 million, meaning on average each shot has a price tag of $220,000. That's essentially a Lamborghini for each shot in the entire 2-hour movie. Wouldn't it be smarter to just make movies without VFX then? Well, for one, superhero movies would turn into comedies. And also, looking at the 10 highest grossing films of all time, all of them rely heavily on VFX. You actually have to go all the way down to the 58th highest grossing film, Oppenheimer, for a movie that isn't heavily reliant on visual effects, but that movie still uses a lot of digital compositing, even though most people think otherwise. This has become a trend lately, not wanting to admit VFX was used in movies, but rather brag about how many practical effects were used.
And everything you see in this film, obviously it's for real. All of the flying that you see in this picture, everything is real. And
the movie Rabbit Hole has an excellent series documenting this, where he discovered they even removed blue screens from behind the scenes footage to make people think it's all practical sets. It's like they're embarrassed to admit they used CGI, or maybe they think it'll make the movie feel more authentic. Who knows? But what's interesting is that it didn't used to be this way. In the early stages of CGI, movies like Jurassic Park even used it as a part of the marketing.
It was clear that Phil Tippett's go-motion dinosaurs could be replaced by this breakthrough computer technology.
Maybe it's just because they couldn't pretend that this stuff was real. Anyways, let's finish our recreation. 200 hours of rendering later and we're left with this. Definitely not too impressive yet, but we can do a lot of trickery in compositing. The first step is adding a sky, from which there is a lot to pick from, but I think this one fits well. This already helps a lot. Next, I spent like an entire day fine-tuning the color, but I could not get it to look right. So I looked at the reference generated using Artlist and darkened the water to match. I also used this reference from YouTube and added a similar foggy background layer. And lastly, when in doubt, add glow, lens dirt, lens flare, and a tasty little rainbow to make it all feel a bit more real. And by the way, if you want to learn VFX yourself, I actually have an introduction course teaching Houdini, and since you're watching till the end, I'll give you all 50% off with the code AFO. Thank you for all the support on it so far, link below. Anyways, let's grade the final composite and add some sound effects and music from Artlist, and the shot is done. And I just want to say I have a lot of respect for the artists who worked on this shot back in 1997. For the technology at the time, it's incredible they even managed to make this. And according to this article, they ran out of time because the director was fixated on adjusting the brightness of an F-15's taillight for another shot, which, from having worked in the industry, sounds pretty accurate. Anyways, I had a blast recreating it, and let me know what other bad VFX shots you want me to fix in future videos. Finally, here are the results. Thanks for watching, you're the GOAT.